Okay. It's not really in terms of contact, as I was telling you, it's more in terms of like an educative revelation, if I can say so.
Yeah.
Is that even a terminology we can use?
It
Do
is.
they
I understand it.
You'll
But
need
do
to
the viewers
define
understand?
it.
Okay.
You'll need to define it. Like
That was in a
in the
classroom
process,
setting.
in a classroom setting, yeah. Because like I'd said, the first time I got a hint about it was from you. But the thing is, when we had that lecture, it was not very in depth, and
That's true.
most of us were there for the marks.
I
I don't
know.
know. I don't know the reason why.
So honest.
Because the weirdest thing is that it's so weird because that time I was learning in English, and the whole time I'd say much better in English and then this other time, the time that the shocking incidents and all that, the most what they call it, did you say shocking, the most memorable experience, it occurred when I was actually communicating in Korean.
Wow.
So imagine the language barrier was broken.
So you were
finally
speaking
sunk in.
broken Korean.
No.
You are communicating.
I was
broken.
understanding broken. I don't know if it's possible to understand, but
It is, yeah.
Bad
it
way.
is,
But
trust me, I get
that
it.
it's so funny because that made more sense, and it actually sank deeper than the English
version that
the English
I gave
version
you.
that I gave you. Not to say that you're a
No,
teacher or
I
anything, but
get
I
it.
think it was also the openness of the mind,
Yeah.
maybe at that time.
And even at that time,
Or the
we were not
interests.
exactly the place we were at in that moment in undergrad was, I think we were not yet ready to listen
Maybe.
in depth to really, we were not in that empathetic space.
Maybe.
Trying to understand, really. We're just for, let me understand and I pass exam. So if you knew that there's type 1 and type 2, good to go.
What are the differences?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. It was just to pass exams, like you said.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, younger Mariam. I'm passing judgment now. Okay, but yeah, so it was and this teacher used to teach exclusively in Korean. Even whenever I got to consult, she'd have to answer in Korean because she was that bad in English.
Wow.
So anyway, when we were that bad at English.
Yeah, the viewers get it.
I hope. So anyway, every time we'd start a class, that's in my nutrition therapy class, every time we'd start a class, she used to start it with a story. So this time we were starting to a new chapter, and the new chapter was diabetes. So she introduced it with a personal story. I love the way she used to teach. So she told us about this story of when, I don't remember if she said middle school or elementary school, but when they were in
what is middle school and elementary school?
Elementary school is like lower primary, more or less, like primary up to age 11 or 12, and then middle school is up to like 16. Okay. So it's like all level. Yeah. Okay, I do not know very well as well.
Okay.
I just know that they just keep saying elementary
they are
school,
younger, much younger.
Yeah. So she said that while they were in school, there was this, in her particular class, there was a peculiar student who used to come to class with them in the morning, and then in the middle of class, when I don't remember if it was a he or she. In Korean, they don't really differentiate when they're talking. They don't differentiate as much. Okay. We're not like, he went to da-da-da. They just, is that person. Oh, I'm sorry. That doesn't make sense.
It does.
So anyway, I don't remember if it was a he or a she, but that student, said student, would come to class in the middle of class, be sleeping. Then immediately the bell goes to go out and get something to eat. Would go to the canteen and then just buy so many things to eat, more than anybody else, and then come in, and even it would be too much to consume within the 30 minutes of break time, so they'd consume even into a little bit into the class, sneaking bits from underneath.
Yeah.
And then immediately they're done, put down his like put down their head
Yeah.
and sleep all throughout class, and then just all of a sudden in the middle of the class get up, run out to pee. So things like that.
Yeah.
And they used to actually make fun of that student. They were like, because it was peculiar to them.
They didn't
Why
understand.
they didn't understand. They were like,
yeah.
why does he eat a lot if it's going to make him sleep? It's his fault that he sleeps in class. So they would make fun of him. They made all these jokes around his situation, and then later on they just realized that he was actually a type 1 diabetic who had never been diagnosed.
Okay.
So when he got diagnosed, they felt so
So bad.
embarrassed
I
and
can
so bad, because they used to
imagine.
really, really taunt that student
Yeah.
without knowing, about that student's
Yeah,
situation.
I can
Maybe that student
imagine.
was also had some internal feelings about how
Oh,
he used to
there are
act.
definitely a lot of internal feelings.
yeah.
I can attest to that, because
Yeah.
when I was diagnosed in 2005, and I was in senior 3. So when I was in, it's basically no one got it. Suddenly I had all these symptoms, and because basically what it means to be a type 1 diabetic is that your cells that make insulin have been completely annihilated by your own immune system. Kills your cells. Those, they're called beta cells. So those beta depends on where you come from. So those beta cells are completely killed. Now, because they are killed, that means you have no insulin. Now, insulin is what allows us to access energy in form of sugar or glucose. So because you have no insulin, that means whatever you eat stays in your blood. Like your blood is full of sugar, and yet your cells are starving. So you have a big urge to eat. Your body is always telling your brain, I'm hungry, I need food. So you eat and eat and eat whatever you can get your hands on, except you're still going to stay hungry and starving no matter how much you eat. So that causes, and now because your blood sugar is so high, you're very weak, and yet your cells are starving, so you have no energy, so you sleep through all the time. So that reminds me of when I was in senior 3. I'd come to class, and by, let's say class starts at 8, I've come to class, it's 8. By 8:15 my head would be on the desk and I would sleep through class.
An embarrassing story is I used to sleep through class, but I'm not diabetic. I used to sleep through class because I'm just a bad student. So
She's
to
a much
feel-
better student now. I think that was primary, because you can't do that through high school.
1 second. Sometimes I had actually
Wow.
counseling for sleeping in class in my HSC. They actually called my high school counselor. They were like, this, my chemistry teacher, my biology teacher, everyone was complaining. And I was called to the office and I had a 1-hour meeting with my counselor. And she was like, why do you sleep in class?
What's your problem?
What's your problem? But I think I was also undergoing adolescence
You
and
know,
things like that.
It
So
also is quite.
I used to eat quite a lot. A lot.
So for you, you are on a you're experiencing a food high.
Yeah, food high. So in short,
Yeah.
diabetic when people, we are with you from a different
You
line.
understand.
Yes, understand.
Yeah, so I'd sleep so much. I'd sleep from the moment I get to class. Literally, I couldn't keep my eyes open. So my head was always on the... So the teachers gave up. They were just like, let her sleep. I mean, there's nothing we can do. So I'd sleep until at some point, and then some of the teachers would wake me up and the class would burst out laughing. And I'd be like, oh my God, she's so lazy. And I really had no clue what was going on. So I couldn't explain it. I gave into it. I was like, let's leave. Let's just go to the sick bay and sleep. So I'd wake up in the morning, go to the sick bay, sleep the whole day, go back to
the class.
go
sick
back
bay.
to dorm at the end of the day. So basically school was just...
So amazing are you as a student that you had such little hours with school, but you still managed.
Imagine.
Now that you've brought out that story, it has reminded me of something. I think I had a friend with undiagnosed type 1 diabetes.
Wow.
And I used to sit with her in class. You know how I've remembered that story of you saying that you sleep and you wake up and everyone passes. I remember we used to sleep together.
You were sleep buddies.
We were sleep buddies. We used to sit on the same desk, and we were sleep buddies. Or like
Wow.
that desk that sleeps in class. Yes. So, but the reason I remembered that was because of the ketoacidosis.
Yes.
I remember her breath used to smell like sugar, all that.
Are you
Yes, so she must have been
serious?
undiagnosed.
Oh my goodness.
She must have been undiagnosed. She used to, because we're all adolescents, I used to sneak and eat, but my problems were nothing to do with diabetes. I have always had a problem with binge eating, and like I said, I was an adolescent at that time, and there is our body needs food, and our food needs body.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I used to sneak and eat. So I used to eat a lot, so that's why I used to sleep. But in her case, yes, she used to eat and she used to sleep. But I remembered, because we used to talk
breath,
that
the breath had a smell.
So
and
she has nullified the story before.
Yeah.
She could have been my first incident with type 1 diabetes, but it was undiagnosed.
We should follow up on that and see.
I should ask her via Facebook or something.
Yeah, I think it would be an interesting thing to actually follow up on. We'd have her again to tell us about the follow-up of this story.
Well, she'll be interested. It depends on how much she wants to share.
You never know. You never know. So we'll but even if you tell us, you can tell us, oh, so I found out, she is diabetic. It would be interesting to find out.
Now, you see, I was supportive there. It's not unlike you. In your case, I was not a supportive environment. I was supportive. I was like, we'll sleep together. We'll be embarrassed together. So I'm a friend to the diabetic community.
A friend in need is a friend indeed. Oh, lovely. So let's move on to the eye-opening revelations when you studied about it in depth and detail. You actually gave us a bit about that story. Yeah. So this story happened when you were doing your master's degree.
When I was doing my master's degree, yes.
And that's how you finally got to understand. So I'll give you a story about Mariam. When Mariam had her class, her diabetes class, she sent me a Facebook message and she said, oh my God, Edith, I am so sorry for all the time I never understood what you were going through. And it really touched me. At that time, I was like, oh my God.
And it was...
someone finally gets it.
It was the truth, because when I was in that class, like, she introduced that story, and the whole time, I was hearing the story, but the whole time I was visualizing you, how you were in school. And when I say school, I feel like people don't understand. They could think at campus, and that time when we were supposed to do exercise together, and I was like, oh, I have to do 1,000 skips. and she literally went like, hey, Mariam, me, if I do 100, I'm good. And then we started skipping, and she did, before she managed 20, she was like, hey, me, I'm done.
Mariam, I'm done.
And I looked at her like, what is wrong with you? You've not even managed the half of the skips. I'm doing 1,000 here. You were only supposed to do 100, and you're bailing out now.
Yeah.
But I was not the only one. And for me, I remembered like all the things that I used to hear about. Oh, she drags herself while walking, all that. And the whole time I was thinking, I must have done a lot of that as well, whether I knew it or I didn't. And I felt like I needed to apologize, because I got to know about the things that, you have to deal with, your body being in total chaos. You're totally out of control. I can't imagine anyone being able to keep it together on the outside when there is such a disarray going on the inside. And I felt like I owed you a big time apology. I felt like, I don't care if I've never done anything wrong, I should apologize for the whole country. Be like, Edith, we did you wrong. Just pass a public announcement. Be like, Edith, we did you wrong. We are so sorry.
Oh my goodness. When Mariam when you sent me that message, I cried for 2 days.
I was crying when writing that message. I was crying. I was literally crying. I took a long... I don't know if you realize. Of course, you can't realize, but I took such a long time writing that message, because I did not know the right words. I did not know if you would understand what exactly I was
feeling.
I was saying. Because the whole time I was in that class, I was like, oh my God, this is what we used to do to Edith. This is what we used to do to Edith. This is what's going on in Edith's body. For me, you were like that embodiment of all the science I was studying and everything. So Yeah.
It was very eye-opening. I can imagine.
It struck a chord.
It really did. When I got the message, I cried for 2 days. And then after I cried and organized myself and became a sensible human being again, I was like, let me share this with my mother. So I sent it to my mother and I sent it to Maureen. And Maureen read the message and she said, oh my God. Okay, Edith, I don't understand what you go through on a daily basis, but you've told me about some of the hardships you go through. And really, what Mariam has done is actually covers a multitude of all the number of people who have not understood. She actually said that. Then I sent it to, I told her to send it to my mother. So I go to see my mother. I go to see my mother and I told, did you read my message? She's like, yeah, I read your message, but I don't get it. I was like, no, it's my friend. She's called Mariam. And we were in school together. And then she finally did a class on diabetes and she finally understands it. And she said, oh, that's good. Because I know how hard it is, how you go through it. I know how hard it is for you. And for your friends to finally get it, I know it means a lot. You know? So she didn't have the background story. So I just like, the fact that she didn't understand, I was like, yeah, I get that. Yeah, but really that message, it actually erased years of hurt.
Oh, really?
It erased...
Look at what you're doing to me.
Oh, my goodness.
This interview is too emotional. We should stop rolling.
It did. It erased years of hurt because it also opened up my mind and it changed my view to the fact that when people are educated about this, when they are educated, they actually can understand exactly what is happening, you know, because you don't live with it, but you had one class and suddenly your eyes were opened, right? So education, not just for the diabetics, but of course for the diabetics is also very important, but even for the general public is very, very important. For the friends and families of the people going through it, it's very important. And I realized too that being the diabetic, I'm not the only one that's suffering through it. My friends who have to always be on, they have to always be on their toes. Like, is she fine? Will she go through this whole thing? My friends will invite me for trips. Edith, come, we want to go for this trip to so and such a place. They're always worried. Do you have your hypo treatments? Do you have this? Have you carried your insulin? One time my friend actually invited me to a family event in eastern Uganda. And we got there. And through the night, I got hypo. When I got hypo, I'd been telling her about everything. So that night, in the morning, when she woke up, she realized I was unresponsive. So when she got that, she was like, now what do I do? She was telling me about these things, but now what do I do? She gave me insulin. She gave me insulin. She waited 13 minutes and she was like, no, not 30. About 10 to 15 minutes. And she's like, no, this should be working faster than it is. And she realized, okay, I think I did the wrong thing. So she looked, and luckily I'd carried like 5 boxes of Splash. Not boxes, but like small packs. Yeah. So she gave me one. And she, forced it into, she fed it to me. And eventually, like after 2 hours, I came to. It's like, Edith, I've never been so worried.
Yeah.
How was I going to go back to your parents and tell them this and this happened? So I realized this actually affects even our friends, even our family. They are worried. They don't understand. So if they can find a way to understand as well, it gives them some peace of mind. That being the fact that you don't know, when you don't have information, something can seem like such a big deal, can seem like such a big monster, something that you can't handle. But once you know exactly how to handle it, it becomes very, very simple, right? Yeah, so really I think that message did a lot for me. You don't know what it did for me.
I had to say it,
Thank you for saying it. Thank you for having the bravery to say it. A lot of us will be like, I think I need to say this to someone. And then you keep postponing until you forget and you're like, it's okay, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It matters.
Yeah.
It really matters. Yeah. So thank you for sending that message.
I'm glad I sent it. Now I have a feeling I'm going to go back and
send some more.
No, I won't send someone. you're my only type 1. The only thing I'm going to be sending is, are you type 1 diabetic?
You know,
To that friend of mine.
I know. I'd
Yeah.
really love to know how that ends up.